This video will show you 3 abilities that you had as a child but completely forgot about. I'm going to share with you ways of rekindling with those abilities so that you're really able to become more of who you prefer to be, but also at the same time have abilities that you've always had. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you those 3 abilities that you had that you totally forgot about, that many kids have, but simply we are conditioned to not having because of the way that we grow up. Now, these have to do with understanding conditioning also at the same time, because the idea is that there's so much more going on in reality than we perceive of, and by the time we are adults, or at least older, we aren't able to perceive of the same things we did when we were a kid. Now, for example, think of the idea that there are constantly different types of light that are coming towards us. Think of it like what we perceive. The 5 senses that we use is only 5 different ways of interpreting our reality. You could in a way say that in physics, since they show that everything is vibration, that they are 5 ways of translating vibration. So think of it. We can hear sound, but we can't hear every single sound or type of range in that sound spectrum, because our ears don't tune to every single part of it, right? The dog, for example, hear a dog whistle, which is maybe something that we can't hear. Now, think of it in the way that there is always light that we can't perceive, in the sense that there are X-ray, if you have X-ray vision, or you can see ultraviolet light. There are different levels of perception that we just simply don't perceive of, even though it does exist in some form. Now, the idea is that when we are a child, one of the things that we can see but we end up tuning out is auras. Now, some people can still see auras, or they've tuned themselves to being able to perceive them again, but when we grow up, we are able to perceive of that level of the orb around our body, or what they call an aura. And the idea is that as we grow up, we simply tune it out because it's not accentuated at all. If we were to, for some reason, tell someone, oh, what about that, that glow around someone, our parents would most likely say something like, what are you talking about? It's just something that's not practiced, and it's not something that's necessarily accentuated to go ahead and learn. So because we aren't using it, then we lose it. And eventually what happens is our mind just tunes out all of those things. Now think about it. Our brain is constantly translating about 2 million, I think it's 2 million bits of information per second. Even though there exists way more beyond that, that's just all that we can interpret. But we have patterned ourselves to perceiving of that, and since we've patterned ourselves into perceiving of only that 2 million, that's all our brain can handle, we've then picked and chosen which ones will be part of our reality, which templates, in a way, will be something that we perceive of. So the idea is that we can tap into this again by first off realizing that everybody does have an aura. And if you've ever come out of a meditation, or you've ever done some type of spiritual practice, you may have noticed that after that you are able to see that. I know anytime I go into the sauna, and I'm in the sauna for a pretty lengthy amount of time, maybe like 20-30 minutes, and when I come out of it normally, that's very sensitive. I can see kind of like a little glow around everything that I see. So I think that that's something we can easily tap into. We first off just have to know that it does exist. It is something that is real. They have machines that show that can see the electromagnetic energy around the body. So it's something that I think we can start to tune back to. But realize you had that ability when you were a kid. It's simply been patterned out of us, or not conditioned, and since we haven't been using it, we have therefore lost that ability. Now, the second ability that we had as a kid, but normally have completely lost, is empathy, being very empathetic to other people, to other kids when we were a kid. Now, a lot of people may say, oh, I still have that, but when we're a kid, there is no judgment whatsoever. We don't have any, once again, preconditioned ideas as to how people have to be, and those are something that's built growing up. Then we learn about the separation between us and everybody else, and that's something that's conditioned. However, when we are a child, we are very empathetic to other people. I know that when I was a kid especially, I could see the way that I would make maybe another kid feel if, take the toy or something like that. I know that I was a very empathetic kid in that way, and that's something that we all had the ability when we were younger. We all could really feel and see things from other people's points of view, even maybe our parents. Maybe if we did something and we saw that our parents got in, a certain way. A lot of times the conditioning, the time we start to build an armor around ourselves is from some type of reference experience when we're a kid. So for example, we do something and our parents get really mad at us for something that we did. Then we start to say, oh, I don't want to act like that because then they're not going to approve of me and we're not going to get that validation, or they're not going to be happy. And since we care about so much of what they think, then we start to build an armor and we start to be conditioned in that way. So this is about knowing that is when we normally developed some little childhood experience, is when we started to develop an armor around us that kind of cloaked that empatheticness that empathy, so that we were able to kind of shield ourselves from that feeling of feeling how other people feel. Now some people still have that sensitive ability, but understand that you had it when you were a kid. If you don't feel like you're an empathetic person now, there may have been one childhood memory or many that kind of conditioned that barrier that we placed around ourselves. So become aware of what that is. Understand that having empathy can be a really good thing. It can also be, kind of a double-edged sword, because sometimes it's not something that's preferable. But in general, when we were a kid, we had no judgments towards other people. We could feel what other people were feeling, and because of that, we were always very tuned and sensitive to it. Now, the third ability that we had when we were a kid, but we just totally forgot about, is the Now, the third ability that we had when we were a kid was being present to the moment. Now, I know this sounds like a funny idea, like how is being present to the moment an ability? But think about it. So many people now, it's so hard for them to become present to the moment, to just simply be in the moment, observe the thoughts, or to enjoy the present moment. Now think of a child or somebody that's just curious and just having fun, and they're just so in the moment. They're not judging the moment. They're not trying to make it anything different than it is. And then as they get older, people will ask them, what are you going to be when you grow up? And in that moment, they start to then project themselves into the future rather than just be in the present moment. And they begin to get conditioned to not be in the present moment. Now, the reason I say this is because what we can do, and one of the most powerful things that I think we can do, is get back to that childlike wonder of being present to the moment, of having fun, of not making everything so serious. That in itself can be one of the most powerful things that we do in our life, because we start to reconnect to the childlike version of us, which many times was something that was scarred from a childhood experience, which many times is something that in a moment when we were younger we decided that we had to be something other than we currently was, or we currently are. And in that's where the split takes place, to where then we don't feel congruent or authentic to who we are, or we feel a lot of resistance. Having a childlike wonder, or having the ability to just be present to the moment, can change everything about your life. And if you want to know how to do that, the easiest way is to learn how to observe your thoughts, not react to them, and to be able to then become more present inside of your body, which means that you could do something that's more like go swimming, you could do something that's more of like being active and present at the same time. Or you could just do something like observe your thoughts. Either way is something that's very powerful. It'll bring you back to the present moment. And doing that is a paradox, because then anything that you have to accomplish, you're going to accomplish so much easier, because your state of being goes up when you do this. And when your state of being goes up, things just happen in a much easier and smooth type way. So remember that these three things are things that you always had the ability to do. You always had the ability to see auras. It's simply that it's been something that's tailored out of our experience, because we've said, oh, I need to focus on this, or this isn't real. It's something that if we don't use it, we end up losing it. Realize that as you become more aware of your ability to be more empathetic towards people, you become aware that everyone's connected, that nobody's really that different, that we can start to connect to more of ourselves and also understand that we're all connected. That changes everything. And then also to be present to the moment, and to know that as you're present to the moment, you have more of a childlike curiosity. Everything will change. You will increase your state of being and accomplish things in a much better way. Now, I've also just created a free MP3 on raising your vibrational state of being, which will help you connect to more of that authentic part of who you are. This is a meditation that uses NLP, which is called neuro-linguistic programming, to help you to feel and to transcend your base point for how you feel the majority of the time. It's something I think is so powerful. That's why I'm offering it for absolutely free. You can download it in the description box below. below. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you guys liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification bell so that you can see the daily videos that I do. The way that YouTube does things now is you actually have to hit that button to see those daily vids. And other than that, as always, I'll see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, and namaste.